Welcome back. This is day 2 of the D3 Hoops Roadshow, and I'm making a unannounced/unscheduled stop in Biddeford, Maine at the University of New England, talking with Anthony Ewing, the head women's basketball coach of the Nor'easters. Coach, your team's 16-4 this year, unbeaten in the Commonwealth Coast Conference at 13-0, and I guess kind of continuing or being part of a tradition of strong Division III women's basketball in the state of Maine.
Yeah, it's a rich history in the state of Maine. Obviously, everybody knows about Bowdoin's success, University of Southern Maine success, Colby, of late, and Bates is always good, and St. Joe's. I could keep going. It's it's great. We like to think of ourselves as part of that. We play most of those teams every year, and it's their battles. We have a lot of Maine kids. Those schools have a lot of Maine kids, and they know each other coming up through, so they're intense for sure.
You guys have, among other things, you have a brand new facility you guys opened this year to help you. I'm sure that's got to be helping in recruiting and that sort of thing.
It's nice. The Herald Alphon Forum, the kids come and visit, and it's icing on the cake. It's clearly not why the kids choose UNE, but it certainly doesn't hurt. I think the kids, come here for the majors and the location and that stuff, along with our program and how we've been running it, helps seal the deal.
For the 95% of us who don't know what Maine geography is like and that sort of thing, tell us about the location.
We are about an hour and a half north of Boston, so we're not that far into Maine. Once you hit the Maine border, we're only about 25-30 minutes up. We're about 25 minutes south of Portland, right on the coast. It's technically Biddeford Pool. Our campus borders right where the Saco River empties out into the Atlantic, which is really great for our marine sciences program. It's a unique kind of atmosphere for them, and it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. You should all come visit.
And I would certainly. I think the last time I was in Maine was like late April or so. So of a few years ago. It's certainly a very nice, very beautiful country up here.
It is. I'm a Mainer myself. I'm from Portland originally, so to get back up here to UNE. After I left, high school, I was out of the state of Maine for about 11 years, and it was nice to come home and get this job and really set up my family here, and it's been great.
Now, you've been here at UNE for, about half dozen years or so, is that right?
6 years, yep.
And what was your Division III background or your background in general before coming here?
I started at Keene State right after graduation. We were Division II for a couple years, and I was there for we went from Division II to Division III there, and then we entered the Little East. I was there for that.
So that's the late 90s or so, right?
Yeah,
97,
exactly.
96?
Yep. Yep. I graduated in 96, so that was like 97, 98. We made the switch, and then I was there for 5 years, and then I was at Brandeis for 6 years as their full-time assistant, and then I came here as my first-time head job from Brandeis. And
this is a full-time position, right?
Yes, it is.
Full-time coaching, or do you have like the usual administrative duties, or do you teach a class, or?
We all have secondary duties where
the typical kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm Res Life, Dining Services Liaison for athletics, and we all have some contest management, but generally speaking, I can focus mostly on my basketball. Okay,
and you've got a team that I came in kind of expecting a roster where everybody comes from the state of Maine, but you have a significant freshman class, and they're significant contributors to the team as well, but you also have some kids from a little further out too.
We do. Lauren Hayden is probably for the furthest. He's from Virginia, Nova, as she calls it, Northern Virginia.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with Northern Virginia.
She's been a great get. As a kid, we saw play over in Pennsylvania a couple years ago and started the recruiting process with her and had her up, and she fell in love with it up here. We have kids from Connecticut, Rhode Island, mostly New England, but Lauren has been a freshman starter for us, and she's the first winter up here was a little rough for her. It's been a little bit chilly for her, but she's adjusting well.
Yeah, I can't imagine. From Chantilly, Virginia, which I know is in the D.C. suburbs, how do you get someone from the D.C. suburbs to come to Maine?
She has family up this way, okay. But she wasn't completely unfamiliar with it. But we had her major, the basketball part. The thing about Lauren is she wasn't heavily recruited. She was such a talented Division I athlete laden high school team that she was kind of just a role player with that team. She didn't get many shots, and she was just there playing defense. And so I feel real fortunate because she's really flourished offensively up here. She's still I think a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year in our conference. She leads the conference in steals as a freshman. We put her basically on the toughest defensive matchup at the perimeter every game, and she's disruptive. And Yeah, we're really blessed to have her up here.
A lot of Division III basketball players are like that. They're people who are underutilized or just were not stars on their teams. They sat behind or played behind other kids who went on to get scholarships.
Yeah, sometimes you got to dig a little bit. The kids that are clearly the stars get all the pub. Those kids, normally will end up with some sort of scholarship. But we saw her play with her AAU team, so we got to see her on a little different level. So she got a little more run, a little more focus with the ball. Because I think she had 4. I think she told me Division I kids on her high school team, which is not surprising from that area.
Right.
But yeah, you had to dig a little bit and get lucky a little bit too at our level.
And obviously there's a couple of significant upperclassmen. I just wanted to look at the rest of the freshmen though for a second. So. Lauren Hayden, as we just talked about, starts. Megan Gribben has started every game for you, and then you've got 3 other freshmen who have combined to start 15 games out of 20 as well. These are your number 3 through 3 through 7 scorers.
Yeah, we're young. A lot of games we've started 3 freshmen at all guards, the point, the 2, and the 3. Megan Gribben, who started every game at the point for us, basically been giving her the keys to the car here, and asked a lot out of her, and she's responded really well. Her assist-turnover ratio is essentially 2-to-1 right now for a freshman who's thrown into the mix like that. Sometimes you get some bad turnover games, and she's taking care of the ball. Trying to get her to shoot a little more because she's a capable scorer. She was the Gatorade Player of the Year in the state of Maine, so she comes in highly thought of, and she's backed it up. She's been great for us. Alana Vos. Another kid coming in, scored a lot of points in high school, and she's been a little inconsistent, but she's working on that, and she's of late she's been having some good games for us. Michaela Flanagan out of Massachusetts has had some big games for us. She's made some big shots, big, strong, athletic kid out of Massachusetts. So yeah, we've had contributions from a lot of kids, and I shouldn't leave out Sadie DePiro from Macaulay, very successful team out of Maine, a couple state championships in a row, and she was a role player for them. She was their defensive stopper. That's why we recruited her. She's a really good athlete, but she's also shown the knack to hit the 3. She's, I think, our second leading 3-point shooter. So really pleased with that group. Yeah,
and you have upperclassmen in the front court then, especially Beth Suggs, who's averaging a double-double, and I know has a pretty significant number of double-doubles, 7 of them over the course of the season from the looks of it. 13 of them. She's ranked 7th in Division III in that total, but she's averaging 14 points, 12 boards a game, and she's someone who's had at least some starts in every season for you. Yeah,
she came in getting minutes, and she earning minutes. Real big, strong kid. She's tough to deal with. The best way I could describe Beth is, the thing she does best that's sort of unique to her is she rebounds out of her zone. A lot of kids, or bigger, stronger kids, will kind of rebound, their area, but Beth just goes and gets the ball wherever it is. She's a real pain to box out. And she's, for our team in practice, she's virtually impossible to box out. We don't do very well at getting a body on her, but she's climbing that rebound list. I think she's about to be 5th all time on the rebound list.
In school history?
In school history. And she's also about 20 points away from 1,000. So she's been unbelievable. She's been our rock this year down low, and Kelly Coleman, the other starting post. She's a sophomore, but she started almost every game, and she's been a rock as well. She's been our go-to a lot offensively. She's tough to guard. She's really unorthodox, but she's a kid that can score. She was the leading scorer in her high school's history, so she's a kid that knows how to put it in the basket, and she can play inside and out, so she can be tough to guard as well.
I know you guys obviously have a significant number of games left to play this season, but I would think that come 2 or 3 years from now, people who you play are going to be real tired of seeing Kelly Coleman and all those freshmen.
Yeah,
people who are freshmen now who will be here for 4 years.
Well, that's the goal. That's the hope. And these kids stay together and all work on their game and all improve together and kind of grow up together through the program. They can be a scary group. They're not a lot of. I mean, those freshman kids are mostly they're all guards. But I'm not afraid to throw 4 guards out there at a time and just kind of wreak some havoc. And they're all athletic. They can all press. They can all shoot. So. Yeah, that is the thought, that hopefully in a couple of years they can be even scarier.
Sometimes, you see some growing pains with teams moving into a new building, especially a larger building. but I know that you guys got off to a really good start in your first home game here.
We did. We actually had Bowdoin here, who we hadn't beaten in my time, and quite honestly hadn't been close to beating in my time. And we actually ended up, I think, winning by 40 or so. Played really, really well. We didn't catch Bowdoin on their best night, for sure, and they're playing much better of late. But it was really a nice way to open the building. The kids were so excited because it had been kind of just a mental hump to get over, and to get over it in that way. And our first game here was huge for us. And
you mentioned all the and really all of the significant Maine teams who have been consistent over the past decade are on your schedule already. You mentioned Bowdoin. Bates has had its run. You mentioned St. Joe's, Southern Maine. Obviously, I think everybody knows what Southern Maine women's basketball has done over the last 30 years. I'd say the entire length of the history of Division III women's basketball, and then some. Southern Maine has been has been a contender for that time. It seems like you're really. You're not necessarily going out of your way in a sense because everybody's contained in the state of Maine, but between then and going to Williams tournament, you really have pretty much the run of New England here. Yeah,
I schedule these games obviously on purpose. I understand how it works regionally, and to make postseason. And we played Williams last year. We played Rhode Island College last year, and they were fabulous last year. We're actually lucky enough to get a win here against them early. I know we have to play these teams we want to be, and we want to be on that stage. We want to be in the mix, And if something does happen to be in the mix for an at-large bid, which lucky enough for us, we needed it last year. We lost in our semis, got the Pool C bid, and that's based on these teams. I would, if these teams weren't good in our state, I wouldn't play them just because they're local. We're going to find the best competition we can find in New England. It just so happens that we don't have to go too far to find it.
Is it difficult? We don't know what the regional rankings are at this point. We don't know where teams stand, and we won't until next Wednesday when we see the first one. Is it difficult as a coach, waiting through, it's going to be 21 games of your season before you have some indication as to where you sit?
No, yes and no. They are what they are. We can only win the games, and we control it, but we don't. And I was on that committee for 3 years, so I understand how it works. So I kind of do it in my head. Yeah. I haven't worked out all the strength of schedule numbers for everyone, but I kind of have an idea where we would be in that mix. We'll see where that plays out. But we're really focused on Roger Williams Saturday. It's a big game. My SAD informed me that if we win Saturday, we'll lock up the number 1 seed for our conference tournament. So that's one of our goals. So it'd be nice to be on that list. We do have a good record. A couple more marquee wins would have been nice. The couple 1-point losses will hurt, but we'll see how that plays out.
10 teams in the Commonwealth Coast Conference. Is everybody in the tournament, or is it 8 or 6?
8.
Okay.
Top 8.
Okay. So top seed gets you the number 8 seed in the first round.
Yeah.
And then do you host? Is it a 4-game on the weekend?
It is a 4-game. It's a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. So you host. If you keep winning, you host throughout. There's been some talk about making it a Final Four site. I know a lot of the conferences in New England do that. Mm-hmm. Whether we do that or not, I don't know. I'd like to do that. I like that concept. I think it breeds excitement, and it's that Final Four site. I know somebody, the 2 seed or whoever, somebody loses a home game. Right. But I think what you gain for the kids is in an exciting tournament atmosphere I think it outweighs that. But it's easy for me to say. But.
And you mentioned, of course, reminder that last year you guys lost in the conference semifinals. It still got into the tournament. I know that, last year, kind of just looking at the way the New England regional rankings kind of went down at the end, it seemed to, if I remember correctly, you guys were pretty much on the bubble at that point. Is that right?
We were. We were second in the region going into that poll, and that loss clearly hurt us. To me, it wasn't a bad loss to us. I know Endicott's a good team, and I know some other teams that we fell behind. In that poll, probably lost in their semis or finals, but we did probably fall down a little bit. I don't know if we're the last team in, but probably close to it. But I was proud of the kids. We went down to Tufts and played a very good Johns Hopkins team to a 1-point game. Came out at the short end of it, but I felt and feel like we're a tournament team, but we got to take care of our business here and not. Hope to get an at-large bid. We got to take care of business in the tournament.
Right, and I know obviously you have 5 plus 3 conference tournament games ahead of you in between now and then. But I'd have to think that at some point in the back of your head, you have to think if you guys finish out that would be, 24-4. You guys have a nice building, a new building. You at least have a shot at hosting that first weekend.
Yeah, I think a lot of that depends on us finishing out, which is,
Right.
And
No,
also,
I did put the if in front of there.
and how the rest of the region goes down, but we do have a nice facility. It would be, I think regionally, we're not far from the Boston teams, or New Hampshire or Maine. It would be a great place to host a regional tournament. Hint, hint. Nudge, nudge.
That's Anthony Ewing, the head women's basketball coach at the University of New England, here on day 2 of the D3Hoops.com Roadshow. I'm here in Biddeford, Maine, and thanks for joining me.
My pleasure. Thank you.